Hey guys, Justin here with JHart Modelworks, coming to you with another update on the Meng 124 scale GT40 buddy build that I'm doing with Chris from CD Scale Models. So Chris has fixed all of his issues with his compressor and his airbrush. He had to strip his body down. He's got it resprayed. He's got it clear coated. It came out fantastic, like absolutely gorgeous. A little jealous of how nice that 2K went down for him. Looks great. He's getting a lot of progress done. So I went ahead and started working on my build again. And we have a lot, and I mean a lot done. This thing is almost finished. So we're going to go ahead and get this camera flipped around and I'm going to show you where we're at. Alright, here we are guys, and as you can see, we really are close to being finished. I'm going to go ahead and start in the back. The back, with the exception of license plates and wheels, the back is completely finished. Our little exhaust tips out there. Remember, we had to 3D print some exhaust tips because I messed up the kit ones. They do not look bad at all. The exhaust itself looks good. That being said, the exhaust is not good. Alright, so I did the exhaust out of order. I did the whole engine assembly out of order. Had I done it right, it would have gone together properly, most likely, but I would not have been able to put those 3D printed valve covers on, and it just wouldn't look the way I want it to look. The way they want you to do it, they want you to take the intake manifold, which includes the valve covers as all one piece, glue the heads on, glue the exhaust to the heads, and then assemble the back half of the exhaust and glue that in. And it's 4 separate pieces. So you've got each side, you've got the top and the bottom of the exhaust. The back end of the exhaust doesn't drop down into place. It drops and slides in. So when I put this together, I already had the engine completely assembled. So I tried to fish the exhaust headers in and get them glued into place, and then tried to basically wiggle the exhaust in place and then get it to drop down, which I got it, but it's not beautiful. You can't tell from here because where everything sits and how it sits. But if you look in there with like a flashlight and you look really, really close, the headers don't really connect all the way. At least one side, I think it's this side, doesn't go all the way in correctly. And that's because I didn't have it outside. I was trying to fish everything while it was already inside the car, and it just didn't, it was difficult. So if you want it perfect, do it right. So at the very least, I would probably do like maybe white glue the heads on, at least long enough to get the exhaust assembled and in place, and then get the heads dropped in on top of the engine, and then remove the heads from the valve covers and pull that top piece back out and then cut and modify it. If I were to do it again, that's probably how I would do it. And that would get it a little better. But honestly, unless you're searching for it, you can't really see. I mean, even from the bottom, you can't really see that those don't connect perfect. So it looks good. Love the back end. The engine bay looks really nice. I like that green in there. I like the gold accents. Doing fantastic. We have our glass in, we have these little vents in. Now, the instructions kind of say to put these on first and then put the glass in, and that's kind of counterintuitive to me because you have to get that glass under those intakes. So I did them later, and it worked out for me. There's supposed to be a clear glass part that sits on top of this. I don't really like it. I don't like the look of it. So that is this piece right here. This is supposed to sit down on top. I got a little bit of orange overspray on mine, but that's okay because I have no intentions of using this part. Just don't. I don't like the way it looks. I like the way it looks better with that being open. But just to show you how it should look, this should sit on top of that. And I want that all the way around. The trim should be painted. I think it's like black, maybe, or maybe it's silver. I don't remember. But they want that painted, and they want it to sit basically like that. I'm just not. I like it better like this. Now, Chris has a really good idea, and I may steal it. Chris is talking about dropping some mesh right over that opening right there, just like a small rectangle of mesh. And I may do that as well. And that'll give you kind of a mesh look when you look down in there. But yeah, that is looking good. Looking really good. We have all of our plug wires are run. All the plumbing done on our fuel pumps. The fuel pumps run down to a 3D printed fuel filter. And then that runs up and goes into this side of the carbs. And then we've got that side of the carbs has some solid plumbing in there. All of that looks really good. I'm very happy with how that came out. I went ahead and just tossed the ignition coil up here. Alright guys, let's talk about this interior, because the interior is pretty much done. Well, the interior is done. It just needs the doors and the dashboard glued into place. But I wanted to leave that unglued for right now so we could show them in detail. But our interior is done. It looks fantastic. So we have our seats in, and we have our harnesses made up. I used some green 1/16 inch, basically 2mm ribbon. These adjustment latches in here are 3D printed. Somebody has a set of harnesses on Colts 3D. They don't fit exactly right for this material. It would fit perfect for like this material, but for ribbon it's a little shallow. So I went ahead and I modified it slightly to make it just a little taller so I could get the ribbon in there. The latch bits right there are from, I want to say Mr. Model, or they might be Small Great Details. Now these pieces right here, I 3D modeled. I designed them and printed those up. But to get those on to the ribbon, instead of using resin, which is brittle and delicate, I used the round circular back piece from the same photo etch set as these. I want to say it's Small Great Details set right now. So they've got a circular back piece, and you're supposed to glue in a couple other photo etch pieces, but instead I glued on my little latches here on top of that. So I've got metal holding on to the ribbon, which is nice and strong, and then my resin detailed, highly detailed latches in there. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I don't do harnesses very often, and these turned out really well. Fire extinguisher and the battery. I thought about cutting this battery out and replacing it with an Opta or something. But the way the dashboard sits and then the body sits over it, you will absolutely never see it, ever. Like, no matter what angle you look at, you can never see the battery, so I just didn't bother. But that all looks fantastic. We have our door cards. So Chris sent me this seatbelt material. He sent it to me specifically so that I could cut it down and make the door pulls. So the door pulls on the actual kit are just a lump of plastic. It's not hollowed. It doesn't look like it's a door pull. It just looks like a hump of plastic sticking out of the side of this rather nondescript plain Jane door. So I used some chisels and chiseled out the original door pull, sanded it all, got it nice and smooth, drilled out the holes for all the rivets. We replaced those with some Top Studio rivets, and I carefully drilled some holes after I cut down some of that seatbelt material into a door pull, and those look fantastic. This kit does not have mirrors on the outside of the car, but it does have mirrors, and they come and they sit on this really friggin' wide door. So that was kind of cool. I like the look of having them on the fender. A lot of the replica cars will have them. Will have the bullet styles on the fender. I thought about it, but I didn't. I had already had the car painted when I got there, and I didn't want to risk, chipping out and breaking a chunk of paint off or something. So I decided to just stick with the kit's mirrors on the door. So the door cards look great, and down in there there's a little metal bar. And I painted that with one of these Display acrylic paint markers. So it's not a Sharpie. It is an actual acrylic paint that just goes through a soft felt tip marker. These things are fantastic. The only one I don't really like is the black. But coverage on this is fantastic. Can't really see well against. Look at the gold one. No, that's yellow, but you can still see. Let's look at the gold one. I mean, that was just like one swipe. Just beautiful coverage. So we've replaced the shift knob with a custom-made shift knob. I do not like the kit's shift knob. It looks like a bad. It looks like somebody put a personal pleasure device on the stick. So I took a sewing pin and I cut it down, and I painted up that head to be candy green, which matches up with those beautiful pedals down there. Get a good look at those, because we're never going to see those again once that dashboard comes into place. A little bit of dust down there. But yeah, those all look beautiful. And finally we have the Coupe de Grace. I know it's Coupe de Grace, but that is I think that's how Matt from Model Car Video says it, is Coupe de Grace. So we have our dashboard. This thing is beautiful. So we've got the fuses in there. I kind of painted up the connectors to be gold. Give them a little bit of detail. At one point in time, I thought about trying to cut those fuses out and replace them with some 0.5 millimeter fiber optic line. And I was just like, Justin, you've got to stop. So we did not do that. I did cut out and replace this little switch over here. I 3D modeled and printed a new one. It just looked like a blob. It had no real shape or detail to it. Sadly, I didn't get it as clean as I should have, but when you're looking at the interior through the side windows, it's not going to be that noticeable. but that does look really nice in there. We have all of the toggle switches with just little lumps. We've removed all of those little lumps, drilled in holes, and installed some Top Studios toggle switches, which I made sure some of them kind of angled so that they look like they were switched. Gave them a little bit of variability in there. Those look really good, but not all of these are toggle switches. So I 3D modeled and printed up kind of push-pull knobs. So we've got a couple of those in there. Then we've got our gauges. All of our gauges are in. And then the gauges have a photo etch metal trim ring in them. I think these are the Mr. Model trim rings. And then once I got the trim rings down, I added just a touch of Bondic. And then don't cure it immediately. It's going to form kind of a dome. Go back with the soft Q-tip and lift up the bulk of it so that it kind of flattens out. And then let it sit for about 10 or 15 minutes. And that Bondic is a liquid. It's going to self-level. After it levels, then go in and cure the Bondic. That's going to give you these shiny lenses without having that huge dome to them and getting that magnification look like you get if you're looking at it through a bubble. So you get a nice, flat, smooth lenses. I did the same thing with the steering wheel. I put my decal down. I then, after that all dried up, I added a photo etch trim ring. And again, just added a tiny bit of Bondic in there, let it settle, removed it, got it all nice and flat, and then cured it up. So that looks fantastic. I'm really happy with how the dash turned out. So the doors and the dash need to get glued into place. And then once that's done, we can do the final marriage of the top half of the body, the front of the body, to the rest of the chassis. And honestly, we're so close to done. We're so very, very close to being done with this. We need to do the fuel filler cap, the windshield wipers, all the glasses painted up. Everything is painted and ready to go. We need to get the glass in, side windows. We need to do our headlights and their lenses, the driving lights and the turn signals and the lenses that cover that up, and then get the wheels on. License plates, registration sticker. All my cars get registration stickers so that I know when I built them, because I put the date and the year of when the model was built in there. So we're going to get a registration sticker on it, the toll tag on it, and she'll be done. So we're probably looking at a final next week, or depending on how Chris is doing with his, I may hold off on the final and do the unboxing for the Gordon Murray Automotive T50. I've said before, that's going to be next up on the bench, is going to be the T50, so I may do the unboxing for that if Chris needs more time. So that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys very much for hanging out with me. I appreciate y'all watching the videos, and I will catch you on the next one.